I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty confused right now. On the one hand, I feel like a bit of an idiot. And on the other hand, I feel like a detective who's just finally solved that cold case that's been in their file for so long. Case closed. And it feels like the clues were in front of me the whole time. If you've watched any more of my videos, you'll know that I've been on this journey for like 20 years trying to figure out what's going on in my head. And whilst it's only in the last couple of years that I've started to kind of take control of that, every time I've spoke to a therapist or spoken to someone in the profession and they've said, let me unpick what's happened, let me try and trace this back to an event, let me try and find out why your brain isn't firing in the way it should. I've never really been able to articulate what's happened, and consequently they've struggled to find out as well. So I would always be like, I don't know why, I'm just anxious, I'm just numb, I don't want to do anything. And if you've tried to fix your mental health before, you've probably gone through those conversations where you've tried to kind of trace things back, you've tried to find out why you are this way, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I feel like whilst I was moving forward already, that I'm turning a bit of a corner now, and I want to talk about it. So when you can't quite figure it out, it's scary. It's like, why the fuck is my brain broken? So let's talk about why I'm here and why I'm suddenly thinking about this idea of being agoraphobic. Last week, I made this video about CBT and how I used it to treat my IBS. And in the process of making that video, I had to explore some topics that were quite difficult for me. I had to kind of reflect on my life experience. I had to reflect on the journey I'd gone down. And I'd kind of shelved a lot of that stuff. It was only really in making that video that I started to remember all of the things I'd gone through, all of the times I'd made decisions based on fear, all of the times I hadn't done something based on fear, all of the times that I had let people down based on fear. All of those things came back to me, and actually it was quite difficult. If you were in the live stream on Saturday, so that's every Saturday we do a live stream, you'll know that I talked about that and I kind of unpicked it a little bit. And I almost didn't post the video because I found it quite challenging to make and I found it challenging to watch back. But when I actually did, I felt, no, this is really valuable. It could be useful for one person to see this and start to think about how they might be able to change their health and take control of those situations where fear otherwise would have overridden them. So if you've seen that video, you'll know that I had this deep-rooted fear of embarrassing myself in public, and real anxieties around getting on public transport, about being in situations I wasn't in control of, about losing control of myself, about losing control of my bodily functions. All of those things were like really, really real fear for me. And we're not talking about a short period, we're talking about 20 years. We're talking about 2 decades worth of that phobia kind of dictating every decision I made in life. But when I was starting to script and research that video, I started to think about the experiences I had and started to balance the physiological stuff like my bowel, my gut, all of those things alongside the psychological stuff. So all of the things in my brain that were stopping me from doing things that were making decisions for me, and perhaps that kind of where that vicious cycle began, whether it was a brain thing or whether it was physiological, whether it was my gut that was the problem, my bowel that was the problem. When I saw improvement in my symptoms, it was always down that psychological route. It was when I took part in hypnotherapy. It was when I took part in mindfulness. It was when I attended CBT. And I started to come to the conclusion that actually lots of the challenges I faced while I called it IBS for 20 odd years were things that were happening in my brain more than in my gut. So that realization took me on a bit of a journey, and I started to explore the idea of phobia and eventually kind of fell upon agoraphobia. And it's one of those phobias that we probably think we know a lot about. We think it's when people are stuck inside and, you know, peep through the curtains and don't want to step into the outside world. I hadn't realized like the extent and the broadness to which agoraphobia can be defined. And as I started to research, more and more of that resonated with me. And more of the symptoms, side effects and experiences kind of aligned with my own experiences, side effects, everything that I had been through. So for me, I've talked about this, I have this intense, manageable to extent now, but intense fear of embarrassment in a public space. At the top of this video, I talked about feeling a bit like an idiot because I spent like 2 decades researching and managing physical symptoms of IBS. Bear in mind, I'm like 38 now, and I was probably 14 when I was diagnosed with IBS. So I feel a little bit silly because I feel like I was led down that path and could have invested time in managing anxiety instead and phobia, because it feels really clear to me like that was the issue. or that is the issue. I'm better at managing it because of things like CBT, but that was always the issue. It wasn't a physical thing, it was a psychological thing. And I think about all those missed opportunities and all that stress that was caused to me because it was devastating at the time. And feel a bit like sad, I suppose, that I wasn't able to kind of fix it in perhaps the most suitable way. Because there was lots of things that I could have done differently in life if I'd been able to get on top of that. But I also feel excited, like I'm in a position now where I've got like half my life left and feel like I finally know why the engine is making that funny noise and how to fix it. Like that's a cool position to be in. Like I can think about all the challenges that I still do face due to this problem. And now I'm reframing it as not a physical thing, an unpredictable physical thing, but a very predictable psychological response to triggering situations. That makes it super manageable for me right now because I've already inadvertently taken so many steps into managing that. So I'm like super excited about the prospect to become even more equipped to deal with the challenges that I face. So I'm really interested, like, does this resonate with your experience of agoraphobia? Does it feel like what I've described feels familiar or feels like it fits within that parameter? And it's okay, obviously I'm really excited. If you don't think it is, you feel free to break my heart. But I want to know from the experts, I want to know from you guys whether that feels familiar. Does that feel right? I'm still taking my sertraline. If you want to have the latest update on that, there should be a video up here for you to watch. My name is Alex, this is A Happy Change, you're doing fabulously, and I shall see you soon. Peace.